Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Real Estate Agent Advantage podcast. I'm joined by a friend of mine that I've known for almost a decade, really, at this point, because I've been in real estate that long, and I met you pretty close to the beginning of my journey. Ara Mamourian. Hello, Ara from the Spring Team. Say hello to all the good people.
What's up, good people? Yeah, man, we I guess you could say we came up together, so to speak. Like we kind of I was a couple years in, and I've been in this business for almost 13 years. So yeah, man, we started off as young pups, and here we are, all gray with more children, and
Exactly,
you know,
exactly. And you know what's funny? We found out only a couple of years ago we share a very similar birthday, right? So we're both 78,
yep,
August, right?
July,
July. Okay, so summer of
July,
78. All right.
summer '78, man, best
There
year
you
ever.
go. All right, cool. So let's talk about your journey in real estate. What were you doing before real estate, and why did it even, or how did it even come on your radar?
Yeah, I mean, like I was doing something very different than real estate at the very beginning. I don't even know if you know this actually, but I used to be a massage therapist.
Really?
I was a trained massage therapist. A 3 year college program. Came out of that in 2000. So from like 2000, 1999 to 2006, 2007, I ran a very successful on-site massage therapy business and nothing to do with real estate. But I was very successful in that regard. And I just kind of, I guess when you get sick of touching people, being a massage therapist is kind of a problem. So, I transitioned out of massage therapy. It just kind of exhausted all of the paths for me. So it wasn't exciting for me anymore, but it was a great career while it was there. And then I was just injured. I injured my ankle. So I was just at home and not doing anything. And I've always at the time was trying to get my wife to get into real estate because it was something that was very interesting for her. But she was in marketing and never really wanted to do it. So I'm like, well, whatever. I'm hurt. I'm here. I can't do anything. So let me just sign up for the real estate course and make some quick cash. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think I finished the program. I signed up for it on like January the 2nd or something like that. And I was a licensed, ready to trade by March the 3rd. I got through the program. It was my full time job getting through the program. And that's all started in 2007.
So that began. Now, did you know any realtors at the time in terms of like your inner circle of friends or family?
There was one of my close group of friends, my buddy Craig. He's still a very close friend of mine. He was a commercial realtor, and
Okay.
he had helped all of us kind of transact at that time. Whoever was buying or renting, he was the guy for us. And but he's not all that. Like he's not like he does his thing in real estate, and he's not the kind of guy that will be like, hey, you should get into this business. Come along. Like he's just very much like a lone guy doing his thing. But then one of my massage therapy clients introduced me to a woman named Audrey Azad, who's one of the most successful agents in the city of Toronto, who actually works at my same brokerage right now. She was my first real exposure to real estate. She was my first, when I bought my first place, she was my agent. And, that kind of her attention to me at the time really got me excited about real estate. And I jumped right in there. But no, my circle didn't have any real estate people in it immediately.
Okay. So when you first got started, I mean, like you said, you wanted to jump in and you thought you'd make some quick cash. What was the reality for you? Because as you know, my first 2 years were a hell of a struggle, and it took until year three for me to hit. So what was it like for you to get started?
Well, in the first year, I made $6,000, and that's because I sold my own condo and charged myself commission to sell my own
Perfect.
condo. So it was a rude awakening, to say the least. Obviously, a lot of people assume agents are overpaid and very little work for like a big paycheck kind of scenario.
Right.
And that's really, couldn't be further from true. We're compensated very well for what we do, but the good agents in the city also do an exceptional job for their clients that puts more money in their pocket at the end of the day. So, like, I don't obviously subscribe to the fact that realtors are overpaid. But that first year was a rude awakening. Like, I made no money and I had no real guidance. And then I was with a brokerage called Coldwell Banker Case Realty, which is now, I think it was bought by by Royal LePage to Equity or something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, but I had a great mentor there who I finally connected to, and he just taught me the way. And my year two, three, four, five, six just kind of exploded after that.
So let's dig into that a little bit. First, let's tell everyone where it is that you work, because you work in the city of Toronto, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
people should know
So
that.
yeah, I guess I didn't do a proper intro, I guess. So I'm Ara Mamourian. Hi everybody. I mean you did an intro, but like more specifically, I operate a team called the Spring Team, which is out of Remax Hallmark in the Leslieville office or Riverside office in downtown Toronto. It's a team that is this version of the team is just over a year old, and we're just super lucky that we got inducted into the Remax Hall of Fame for our achievements in the first year, which was pretty cool. I run the team with my business partner Ryan Wykes, who's a former senior vice president at condos.ca. And we have 5 agents on our team, plus 3 administrators, and then Ryan and I. So there's 9 of us, or 10 of us altogether.
That's part of the
And
reason
that's
why I love having you here, because you're very entrepreneurial in your mindset and your spirit. And so, I mean, you have other ventures as well outside of real estate that we can maybe talk about if you want to also. But I like the mindset, because there are some people that come into the business thinking, you know, they want to work for themselves, they want to do this, they want to do that, and then they just sort of like don't know what to do. They treat it like a hobby rather than a business. Has that really helped you, do you think, in the development of your career? That kind of
honestly,
mindset?
it's actually deterred me a little bit from some
Really?
success. It's prevented me from being successful because I was not the good kind of entrepreneur that can come up with an idea, stick to it, and then execute. I was that terrible kind of person who thought they were an entrepreneur because they had good ideas but had no clue how to execute on any of them. So I'd like do a really great job of exposing myself to new opportunities, learning about those new opportunities, and then telling other people how great those opportunities are, but not doing a damn thing to help myself take advantage of that opportunity. So you knew me back in the day when Facebook was newer and we were all in Facebook groups trying to act like professional real estate agents, knowing everything. Like I was always like, I know the answer to that question. And the way you're doing it is wrong, and the way I'm doing it is right. I was so full of shit for the majority of my career. Sorry, can I swear on this?
100%, absolutely.
So I'm not going to get crazy, but I say shit sometimes, whatever. So, that just, I spent so much time just being so full of it and telling other people how they should be doing their businesses. Anyway, long story short, I was not a good entrepreneur until I got a coach. And then my coach really helped me focus that energy into something good and actually executing and creating something. So like where we are today with the Spring Team, it's essentially Spring 3.0. Like I
Right.
started like in 2011, I opened up a brokerage, only like 3 to 4 years in the business. Like, who am I to open up brokerage? So my 2 best friends and I, that's mistake number one, opened a real estate brokerage. These 2 guys are not real estate people. One's marketing, one's like a tech guy. So they helped me do a lot of good things on that side. So we launched a brokerage called Spring Realty back in 2011. And that fizzled out around 2016 after 5 years of really, missing the mark on where we really wanted to be. In 2017, I partnered with a company called property.ca who owns condos.ca and
Right.
opened up the East office for that company. And that lasted from 2017 until September 8th of 2020, while we're into the pandemic. So when I started to understand what systems were. I started to understand what it takes to like actually, convert leads, generate leads, and really create a proper business. But then that company was no longer able to support me because I had maxed out in terms of how much I can grow there. And then I connected with Ryan Wykes, who was the SVP at that company at the time. And we decided to take the Spring Team, this third iteration of the Spring Team, the final iteration of the Spring Team, the actual successful version of the Spring Team exists now. And that was kind of the path to it.
So let's dig a little deeper into what exactly you were doing to generate business and survive through those years and those different iterations of the Spring Team. Because you've still been focused, in the same general area, but just, maybe scatterbrained in terms of different ideas and cool things that have come along.
Right.
So tell me, what was that first step in terms of that mentorship with the person who was at, was it Royal LePage, you said?
No, so okay, I'll give you like the sort of chronological
Yeah.
progression of like me and like how this ended up happening, and hopefully this won't go too long. Stop me if it does. So I joined Coldwell Banker Case, which was at the time I lived at Bayview and Shepherd. I had moved there because it's the only place I could afford to buy a condo, and at the time, and I think that's what everybody should do. Instead of complaining about not being able to afford something, just compromise and get that first place wherever you can. But
That's
that's
right.
another podcast altogether.
Absolutely.
So anyway, so I went to this place And I just registered there because it was down the street from where I lived, and started off trying my own thing, and it didn't quite work out. So then I met this guy, Gene Cheng is his name. I believe he's still in management at the Royal LePage version of this company. And he just took the time. Like, he used to be a corporate trainer at the Disney Corporation, training their CEOs and like big
Oh,
people over
interesting.
there. So, he is a really heavy hitter. He used to get paid like 25 G's for like 3 days worth of training for these big guys. And he was there for free for us. And once I discovered that, I was like, damn, let's talk to this guy.
Hmm.
So, and so he took me around, showed me how home inspections worked, and showed me how the whole real estate business works, like how to communicate with other agents and whatever. Um, but that just kind of started my path, I guess, in a good way. It gave me the confidence to be successful. He wasn't really a marketing guy. He was always impressed with the technology that I was using and stuff. So like, he wasn't that guy. But the one mindset shift that started my path to success from that experience at Coldwell Banker Case was when I was freaking out about a certain situation, and I was in an office like, oh my God, like this is happening. I don't know what to do. And he just poked his head in, asked me what was wrong. I told him what was wrong. He looked at the way I was reacting, and he said, top producers don't think that way. And for me, an immediate switch flipped in my head. And I started thinking more like a successful agent, started not sweating about the small stuff. So let's move on from there. So that's like the biggest sort of what I got from that place.
So
And
is
then
that just to pull that apart for a second? Does that mean like you're stressing about one particular deal, some details in one particular deal that was just like minor things that were stressing you out? An agent wasn't doing something they were supposed to do or whatever, and that was really the mindset shift of you're stressing over one little thing that
it
doesn't really
helped me it
matter.
helped me it helped me look at the bigger picture overall. And at that time I was very focused on the little things, and I would get really worried about the little things that I can't control or what other people are doing. So the whole point of me even bringing that up is like, I was lucky enough to join a company that had a strong mentorship and training program, which if you're not going to join a team when you first start in real estate, you need to join a place that has strong mentorship and training
Absolutely.
for individual agents. And they had that. And I don't think a lot of places did at the time. So I got lucky. I didn't seek that out, but I got lucky. And if anybody is listening to this, that's what you should do if you're new. Either join a team that could help you do that, or join a brokerage that has the support to give you that one-on-one that you need to be successful, or spend 50 grand on a coach, whatever you got.
Yeah.
um, so that helped my mindset there, and it just helped me think about myself as somebody who is a top producer, which I had never really done before. Because he's like, oh shit, is this guy calling me a top producer? Like, this is, does he think I'm a top producer? Like, I've only made 6 grand this year, but I guess he saw that potential in me at the time.
Mhm.
And I guess, just being there and having that confidence, I guess, gave me the confidence to like apply for a job with who I idolized at the time, Brad Lamb. So I worked for Brad Lamb for from 2008 until 2011.
So for people
Um,
that don't know, that aren't necessarily in this area of the world, who is Brad Lamb, and why was he even on your radar?
So at the time, Brad Lamb had a TV show called Big City Broker, and it was all about like showing the lifestyle of the downtown agent, talking about all the condos that he was launching and selling. And it was like, he was the thing, he was the guy, he was like the without Brad Lamb, let's put it this way, without Brad Lamb, the condo market would not be what it is today. Guys like, Brad Lamb and unfortunately, like a Harry Stinson type of guy who was kind of shooed away from Toronto after his
Right.
one King Street West debacle. But like, he's the kind of guy that, like, at the Harbor Castle, the condos down there, when they weren't selling back in the 80s, he'd like hire models to ride the elevators up and down, and just while potential buyers came, like, put his head on a lamb, because his last name is Lamb. Like, he put his head on a lamb and put that on billboards all over the place. Just did all the ridiculous ballsy stuff that I really like. I appreciated. Like, this guy's doing things differently, and he's successful. He had a lot of haters, he had a lot of lovers, and that's what you want, right? Like, you kind of want to stick to your path, and who cares what somebody says about you? Just do it. And he was that guy. So this TV show was something I watched religiously, and I loved it. So I'm like, I really want to work at this place. So I hammered them with like emails like every single day. It took like 7 or 8 months of like daily contact. It was so intense. And finally, what's crazy? I was at the bank machine, and I was depositing like one of my like first big commission checks. And I was at the bank machine depositing and my phone rang and it was his office manager calling me in for an interview. I was at Bayview Village, I'll never forget it, at the CIBC there. And I got the call and I'm like, I went in for the interview the next day. And every year my Facebook memory comes up of me putting that picture
Oh,
of
really?
the office on Facebook, because it was like Facebook, it was like 2 years into it at the time. I joined Facebook like 2006. So I was kind of active in there before. So all these cool memories of that time come. So I got the job, got my office in this sexy King West place. And then, honestly, I hate to say it, but there was no training at that office, like none.
Really?
But it had none, zero training. But other than that, weekly office meeting where Brad sat there and was like, "Go sell some more things. What the hell? Like nothing's selling." Like but it was. But forget about, like, I'm kind of joking a little bit about that. But what I learned from him and that whole experience in that office was work ethic. Very few people that I have met work as hard as a guy like Brad and his successful agents. Like, I learned some systems there because from the pre-con guys there at the time who would like sell like 20 to 30 units in some of his buildings. But I learned work ethic from him. I learned that nothing is impossible if you just do all the shit that other people are not willing to do. Like, nothing is impossible. And then somehow I had the nerve to start my own brokerage, which is when, I remember this too. I remember I was sitting at the second cup at King and Jarvis doing work on my computer. And my buddies and I had a conversation the day before about potentially having a business, doing a business together. And so I'm emailing my buddies the next day. And I'm like sitting in the second cup. I'm like, "Hey guys, were you serious about that last night? Like, do you guys want to do something together? Like, how about we open up like a dog store?" I remember that was my first suggestion. Like, I love animals. Let's open up like a doggy store. And then we eventually had some back and forth. And I wish I could find this email thread, man. It'd be awesome. I don't remember what email I would have been using at the time. Probably an old agent one that I don't have anymore. And then it was, how about a real estate brokerage? Like, you're good at tech, you're good at design, marketing. Like, let's do it. Like, 8 months later, we had a real estate brokerage together, and that was called Spring Realty. So, I mean, I remember I told Brad, I was at the office, he was rushing up the stairs. I was like, "Hey man, I got to talk to you. I'm out of here." He's like, "Oh yeah, you're going on vacation? Where are you going?" I'm like, No. I'm starting my own thing. I'm leaving. And he came up to my office. He was just super unhappy. I handed him the key. And I still take a lot of pride in this. I'm the only guy who he didn't change the locks to the building for after leaving.
Really?
So that was his thing. Like, he would change his locks every time somebody left. And so, like, I take a lot of pride in that trust that he showed,
Man.
that I wasn't going to like break into his office and steal shit.
Right.
And I don't have that key anymore, Brad, if you're watching this. So, so that was that. And then Spring Realty was born after there. And
Okay,
I don't know
so
if you want
before
me
we
to kind of
jump
keep
into
going.
spring, because I really want
Yeah.
to get into that, when you were looking at these top producers, these pre-construction agents, because that's what it mostly was focused on, right? Like pre-construction sales was his thing, right?
No, not at all. No. There
No?
was, pre-construction, obviously, because he was the listing broker for a lot of pre-construction projects, especially at the time he was with Peter Freed. Like, any Peter Freed building was a Brad Lamb listing. So, and anything that he was involved in building, we would be selling before there's any sort of even platinum agent involved. Like, we were selling from the very beginning. But
Okay.
no, the majority of my business and the majority of all the other agents' business was resale condos
Okay.
downtown.
All
Yeah,
right.
it was
So
just his
how
just
are
his
they?
projects.
Gotcha. How are they going after? Because you said, you saw an incredible example of work ethic from the top producers and him in that company. What is it
Yeah.
that they were doing that was so effective for them?
This was the first place that I went to where everybody I was around lived and breathed real estate, like morning until night. There was the constant grind with these guys, like, and late and when women, like, they would wake up and they'd be talking about real estate in the coffee shop, getting their coffee. They'd walk around talking about real estate. Everybody around them was real estate. They were Nobody I'd ever been around before was fully immersed in real estate like these people. And it was like, they would party hard, they would play hard, and they would just sell a ton of real estate and make a whole bunch of money. And I'm just like sitting there like, whoa, how are these guys doing it? This is before Facebook ads were even a thing.
Right.
You couldn't run ads on Facebook at that time. And the only way you can generate leads was Google, but nobody was there to teach me how to do that stuff. So I didn't really know. So these guys were literally just like hammering the phones and just calling and doing deals. And it was just so inspiring at the time. And the one thing that was really missing that I didn't really see at the time was like, there was really no relationship building happening a lot of the
Right.
time. It was just, like burning through leads.
Transactional, yeah.
Yeah. So, but there's a few guys that were really good at the relationship side of, like, the really successful ones really got the relationship side of it too, and leveraged the business that they had gotten for more, and by adding value to these people constantly. And, that value could have been the early access to a project, or, like, all of these buyers made hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, the agents make, like, that's the thing. People always focus on how much money an agent's making. Well, my clients make way more money than I do from the real estate that they invest in.
Right.
So, that's what I prefer to focus on, and that's where I learned a lot of that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
So then from there, you left, you went into the spring team thinking, I can do my own thing. I get an opportunity to work with my friends and create something of my own. So what
yeah.
was that adventure like?
Um, I think the three of us just didn't really know what we were in for, and we didn't understand fully what a lead was. We didn't fully understand what real estate marketing was. We didn't really understand a lot. And it was just, trying to grow a brokerage with no real value to an agent. Recruiting with, competing on commission splits and stuff like that. It was just there was really no real business model, other than we knew we were good at tech and marketing and design, but we didn't really know how to apply it in a way that would, be relatable to a consumer.
Right.
So, overall, positive experiences, lots of them. I learned a lot about, I went to a lot of conferences at the time to try and grow. And so I was exposed to a lot of great people, a lot of great technology. But as a business, it was a failure from like start to finish. It really was not, there's a point where I almost lost everything that I had. And that was a tough period. I don't know if I want to dig too much into that right now,
Sure.
but it created a really tough period in my life. And getting out of owning a brokerage and into focusing on real estate sales and growing a team was obviously the best decision I could have made at the time. But I don't have too many big like moments about having Spring Realty that you know it taught me all the things that I don't want to do. It actually, at the end of it, helped me understand things that I misunderstood before, like what a lead is, what lead generation is, what relationship building is, what marketing actually is.
Right.
So, I guess consider those, from 2011 to 2016, consider those years making mistake years and making lots of mistakes years and costing a lot of money. So I guess it's like the foundation of like, now where I'm at right now, I just made so many mistakes during that period that like everything right now is building off of those lessons, which is actually a blessing in hindsight. But when you're going through it, it's not as
Yeah,
exciting.
when you're going through it, it's definitely challenging. But, like you said, looking back at it, that was you going to school. That was you really learning the ins and outs of the business day to day and what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
Definitely what not to do now, right? So,
Well, I don't know what kind of school out there costs $1 million to go to, but
well,
that's
this is a school of life, my friend.
yeah, that was an expensive few years for sure.
Okay, so what turned it around for you? And by the way, your experience, it's not, in and of itself on an island. I hear that a lot. People that try to start their own brokerages, even people in large brand names, whether that's Remax, Century 21, whatever, those brokerages, having your own brokerage, man, sometimes it's not the fun that it seems like it could be, or the cash fall that it could
Yeah.
be. I mean, it's a lot of work, and a lot of people say, the broker of record is usually the broker of the people, like they are the most broke of the people there. So really,
I've
I've
never
heard
heard that.
that.
That's pretty funny.
And in one of the companies that I worked for, which is a successful one, the owners said if they had to do it all over again, they would forego the brokerage and just do a team and
Yeah.
make more money with less headache and stress and all of that.
It's two.
So,
They're two different business models, and both of them can be successful.
oh,
Except,
absolutely.
the big team is the way that a lot of folks are going right now. And being a broker of record and being a team leader are very big responsibilities. You have people's careers in your hands, and I just wasn't taking it seriously then. and now is a very different scenario because I'm better coached and I put in way more effort, and I have way more faith now that it actually is something that I can do.
Because you've
When I
seen
didn't
the
have any
proof.
of those.
You've
Yeah.
seen the proof of the pudding. That's what it's all comes down to. Now you talked about coaching a couple of times. At what point did you look seriously into coaching and pursue that?
2018. 2018, yeah, around 2018 is when I really, decided that that's what I needed. This business is a lonely one when you're by yourself, and it's hard. I'm not the kind of person that is able to motivate myself 100% of the time, so I need that external accountability. And I'm also not the kind of guy that if I pay a lot of money something, it'll just make me follow it. I will waste money like nobody's business. I'll pay you $100,000 to coach me and never speak to you again.
Oh,
Like it's
perfect. Because
just
I've got the something I gotta tell you.
I'm not one that's like, oh, if you pay, you don't play. Like I'm like, if I
Right.
pay, if I feel like doing it, I'll do it. But it's just for me, it was just I needed to find like the right match, somebody that's willing to like meet me where I am and like understand that I'm a pain in the ass and understand that I think I know way more than I do and help break me down, like breaking a wild horse kind of thing. So,
Let's dig
and
into
that
that
was.
because it's really interesting when you bring up the coaching thing because there are a million and one coaches out there that are legitimate and more that aren't. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. Everyone and their mother is calling themselves a real estate coach or a business coach these days. So, how
Yeah.
did you go about finding the right coach for you? Because that must have been a process in and of itself.
It actually kind of found me really. First of all, coaching, the whole coaching industry is probably 90% full of the most useless human beings on the entire planet that add zero value to anybody that they're talking to. And I'll flat out say that in front of a crowd of 1 million people. But there's that 10% that are fucking gold, and they
Yeah.
will just help you do all kinds of magical things. And luckily at the time, my friend, who I've known since like 2009 or 10, Jess Leung, Jess Lenovel, as you might know her as her married name. She was one of the most successful pre-construction agents in the city of Toronto at the time. And she, in 2018, decided she was going to phase out of selling pre-construction condos, but she was like a multi-7-figure commission agent annual. And so she decided to phase out her sales and focus on coaching because she saw a gap in the real estate industry. There's so much fluff in that coaching industry.
Yeah.
So many people with like buzzwords, like you just got to get up and go and do it. And like, yeah, thanks, bro. But she really gets it. And I immediately, as soon as I knew she was launching a training program, it cost like 6 or 7 thousand US dollars when she launched it. I didn't even have that much money, but I literally sent her a message saying, take my money, let's do this. And that's where it all started for me, is engaging her and her knowing that she could help me and giving me the time and me giving her the time. And that just helped me really sort out my business life.
So, what is it that you're focusing on? Where do you get business from? Like, let's give people some insight that are maybe stuck in a rut and can't figure it out. You know, things aren't working for them. They're doing the old school, they're doing the new school. It's just not clicking. What clicked for you in terms of generating actual dollars?
Well, for me, it was redefining what I thought a lead. So there's two things. I'm going to talk about leads and then existing customers.
Sure.
So I didn't. I thought that a lead was somebody who called you up or emailed you and said that they were ready to buy or sell something, and that was very wrong. That is not what a lead is. I mean, and we stopped calling them leads. Like these are people that have come into our environment through some sort of ad that have some sort of real estate need. And so these are human beings that we're talking to. So the big shift for me came from when I understood the long play of how to communicate with somebody, how to go from, that lead to, rapport to, actually, becoming their trusted real estate partner. Like that's a big path. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
takes a long time, up to 18 months to 2 years to kind of get to that level with some people. So to do that, you have to have the proper systems in place to communicate with these people regularly and add a lot of value to their lives while you're doing it. Not just, hey, are you ready to buy or sell now? Okay, not yet. Okay, cool, bye. There was just a lot more to that uh, um, I'm going to use the word conversion because it's like the official term, I guess, but it's also like relationship building. Like
Sure.
there was a lot more to that process than I realized. So I started to learn how to create the proper systems and automations to be able to communicate with as many people as possible at scale. So once that started happening, then some of these people that had reached out to us, they started transacting. So I started feeling really good about that process and then committing to it, knowing that down the road it will always work.
Okay, great. Now, you had mentioned people basically responding to ads. So your system is always sort of predicated around pulling people in rather than chasing people, meaning like door knocking, cold calling, the proactive kind of old school way of doing things, which still works, but it has to, jive with who you are. That's not the approach that you're typically taking to generate,
No, it's not
start your
how.
life cycle.
Right. And again, back in the day, the old Ara would have been like, that's the worst thing you could do. Never door knock, never cold call. But like the actual successful Ara doesn't hit on what anybody does. I don't care how
Right.
you get your business. It doesn't matter to me. If it makes you feel good, you wake up, you go to bed, you're all good, you have a blessed life, go live your magical life. Why would I care? But so that's like a side thing.
Right.
But for me, we like to do things differently in a way that's more comfortable for me. So I've been creating content for years. So I always have an opinion on something, and I always have some sort of content piece to put out there, whether it's my Instagram stories or the blog where it first started in 2011. There's always something going out that's either going to attract you or repel you. And I don't make an effort to repel. I just have opinions that I believe are actual facts. And 99.9% of the time they are. So when you have like a differing opinion, then you're probably going to be like, who is this guy? He doesn't know what he's talking about. Get out of here. But then there's somebody else who's going to be like, yeah, I'm on that path. Like I feel that. So that whole, the blog attracts people. Our active Facebook ads attract people. Instagram stories are my number one sort of lead gen for the team at the moment. So there's a lot of different ways we get people exposed to us and then provide enough content and value for them to either stick with us or go away.
Right.
And so it's a lot of inbound stuff. So the first reach out from us is a warmer reach out than just like a straight up cold one because they've come to us for something first.
Right. And they have a sense of who you are. And when you're putting yourself out there, number one, it's leverage because you can only make so many phone calls per minute per hour, right? When you're putting yourself out there on some sort of form of media, social media, it's out there for the world to see. So you're leveraging your time that way. But it's a pre-filter, right? People, like you said, some will love you, some will hate you. The ones that hate you, you're not going to get along with anyway. It would have gotten messed up at some point down the line. So they might as well find that out before they even get to you, right? And then
Yeah.
you're really only attracting your tribe, so to speak.
Yeah.
And from that point, you begin the life cycle of nurturing and developing the relationship to get it to the point of transaction and beyond, right?
Yeah, and then that's where I'm at. But like now, my partner Ryan and I, we're doing less transacting ourselves because we're growing the team, and
Right.
all of our business, as much of it as we can, goes to the agents, and we teach them how to do these things. Um, so that our Ryan and my, like our goal is not to sell any real estate at all. And when you're first starting a team, you have to have capital. So like obviously we have to sell now, but at the next year we probably won't be selling any real estate at all. To help grow our team, to help our agents do all these things that we have been doing to become successful ourselves.
Absolutely. And now, depending on the team model, how it's structured, there are some teams, just like there are some brokerages, that make no money. It's a losing proposition and it's more of an ego thing than anything else. There are some that are very, very successful, and there's a huge gap between. So, for the person that's maybe the solo agent that's doing pretty well and thinking, I think I want to maybe start to transition out of everyday transacting into more of a leadership role and start a team. I mean, what number one, what were the motivations for you to go from that to that route? And number two, what are the things that someone should consider when they're thinking about that?
The motivations were for me always the same, whether it was starting the brokerage or starting the team. Because I just felt like there was a specific way that I really enjoyed doing real estate, and I
Mhm.
felt like there might be other people that would feel the same way in terms of like becoming that ambassador for your community, doing a lot of local giving. We'll talk about my charity a little bit after this, hopefully. and sort of coming at everything from like a perspective, like what can I add to this situation to make it better? What kind of color can I add to this situation to help people understand what's really going on? Just coming from that place, and I didn't think anybody at the time was really doing that. And honestly, what kind of value can I really give an agent beyond commission splits? Because we don't, like, our commission splits are not, if you looked at just the splits, like there are teams that have way better commission splits that we do. Like our commission splits are, 40, 60, 50, 50. Like they're not, we don't do 90, 10s, 95, 5s. Like we're a team, like we support each other. We have to keep that movement growing. But so that the motivation was simply that, was just to do things in a way that I felt was the right way. And like this, it was the same for brokerage or team. There's a second part to your question I don't remember.
Yeah, so somebody being in that position of, okay, I'm a solo agent now. I think I want to create a team. So what should they really consider, and what is the big difference in your role?
So listen, I'm going to tell you an answer you might not expect for that team, but I would say maybe consider not creating your own team. Who out there is doing something along the lines of what you want to do? And ask that team if they have some sort of path to partnership within a team that's already doing it. Which might be a strange answer, but I feel like a lot, like I would have, in hindsight, probably it would have been better if I joined a team when I first started, but nobody was really thinking about that. But let's say you're beyond first started, you're a successful agent, like you're saying. That's what I'm assuming you're being. And so you're successful, you want to take it to the next level. We literally interviewed an agent that is that person like an hour ago before recording this. So this person was making like $500,000 a year, and we were just talking to them about how we can help support that and help them grow within an existing framework without them reinventing the wheel, doing their own thing, because our businesses are very similar already. So number one, I would say look to see the marketplace, look who's doing things the way you think they should be done already, and reach out to them and see if you can somehow join their mission and earn your spot as a partner on that team through various efforts. And secondly, if you really want to start your own team, I would 100% make sure you are hooked up with a coach that can help you set up the systems required to support a team at scale. Like, you're not hiring agents before you hire admin. You're going to have to spend, this is a business. A lot of people don't understand your gross commission is not your income. That would
be nice though, right?
It would be fantastic, but your gross commission is the amount of money that your company, you think Amazon's entire gross sales is Jeff Bezos's income? No, like there is a very big difference between what the company's gross income is and versus what you are taking home. So understanding what the business looks like, setting up the systems, the automations, and the support to help support a team before you have one, and hiring an administrator before you need one. Those are like the most important things. So most people, if you look at it, aren't willing to spend, let's say, the $100,000 within the first year it's going to cost to set up this framework. And that's where I think a lot of people fail. That's where I failed.
And where does that money go in what you've learned? So yes, you have to pay salary, admin for sure, but what are some of those other systems that people really need to consider?
What is you do a buyer transaction, what does that workflow look like? What kind of questions do buyers have that you can automatically answer via emails without having them reach out to you first? Answering the what's next question to sellers and buyers before they ask it. What does your listing workflow look like? Who does your photos? Who's going to put up your sign? Like all of this has to be systematized, put into a system that sends notifications to the people that are doing these tasks. And that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. Like what happens, what does your lead flow look like? A lead comes into your environment, how are they communicated with? Who's going to create the drip campaigns? You want to launch a project, how are you going to do the ads for it? Who does your ads? How do you pay for the ads? How much is like all of these things. So there's just so much to it that I think that if you're not already a super successful business person who's coming out of another business into this, and if you've been a single agent, listen, anybody could have made money last year, okay? Like every single agent had the best year of their lives last year. Let's see if that happens again this year. So like I would recommend, number one, that you let the high of last year wear off before you start a team in 2022, because this year is going to be very different because there's nothing on the market. So you're, luckily, hopefully you get yourself some listings. But if you are a buyer heavy agent that did really, really well last year, you're not going to have the same year, I'm telling you. So like, hold on to those pennies and learn how to really set up a team for success. Because if you start your team, Team Lorne, all of a sudden,
Sure. Great name.
Team Lorne just becomes a thing all of a sudden, and then you hire one agent, and then Agent Ara comes along. Hey, Lorne, just did this buy deal. Now what? You're like, let me set up the system for that real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're not going to attract anybody if you don't have that stuff, and 99% of people don't do that when they start, and I'm one of them. So that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, the big difference I find in mentality from people, even moderately successful agents, all the way up there to very successful agents and very successful teams, is exactly that. It's the systems and breaking things down in place so that things are as automated as possible. And this is what we do when this happens. This is what we do when this happens, and it's all there. It's not kind of like scrambling and it's like a shuffling through papers all the time to find
Yeah,
things.
man, it's a terrible place to be. I spent a lot of time in those scrambling, let's figure it out as we go kind of years. And honestly, that's the whole fake it till you make it mentality is the worst thing that's ever been coined. And it's the absolute worst way to live your life, because
I think it's
you're
okay to get into action that way, but you can't stay that way.
100%.
Yeah.
It's just, it's one of those things where fake it till you make it, when other people's lives start to rely on you, on you, becomes a bit of a problem. So you can fake it till you make it on your own all the time. But when you're starting a team, you can't fake not having the right systems in place to help this agent be successful. That has to be there. You can hire an agent who starts in like a month, and you've got like a month to set it all up. But you got to have that. You can't fake not having that stuff in place. It's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you had talked about, and I know this is a big part of kind of you and your persona and who you are to the core, community involvement and charity work. And that all kind of wraps in with business as well, because it just becomes this whole thing. Because in real estate, really, we are a part of the community. So why don't you talk a little bit about that whole, that whole
Yeah.
perspective?
I mean, that whole thing is like, if you're not a giving person in general, it's going to be very hard for you to just like flip a switch and be like, hey, I'm the community guy now. What do you need? Let me help.
Right.
So, but most people in real estate are very giving and helpful individuals to begin with, and they want to do good. That's why you're in real estate in the first place, because it gives you the opportunity to help people through a really big transaction, and help cut emotion and stuff out of the place. But for me, I really believe that number one, you can't, in this day and age, be an agent that works everywhere. It's very hard to be an agent that works everywhere. So it's really important to like kickstart your success, to pick a community to work in, and to get to know as many people in that community as possible by helping as many people as possible. For me, it was the Leslieville community in Toronto's downtown, and that was an area where I was really passionate about. I lived there. I still am passionate, but my business is more like urban now. So it's like all the urban communities, east to west, all over the place. We have an agent in Durham, got an agent in Mississauga. So like, we have agents that work their specific specialties. But I can't remember specifically what your actual question was, but
Just
the
in terms of community involvement
community
and
involvement, right,
charity
right,
and
right.
all of that.
So starting it out. So all of this really can happen if you're really focused on a specific area. For me, it was Leslieville. So I'm in that neighborhood. I'm like, so what do I want to do? I want to buy and sell houses in this neighborhood. So who can I reach out to that can introduce me to the most people that own homes or that want to buy homes? So a really great organization in every community is the Business Improvement Area, the BIA. They're a group of volunteers that help move kind of Main Street business forward in terms of their festivals, and like the Danforth, the Taste of the Danforth, like the huge food festival that's run by a BIA, as an example of something that the BIA does. So I applied to be on the board of the BIA, and I just started to meet all of the business owners and property owners along the Main Street in the neighborhood I want to work in. So you can see how that might be a valuable group of people to be around. And you're not only there, but you're there helping. And it gives you a chance to communicate with people in the neighborhood about things that aren't real estate. They get to know you.
Right.
So that was really important for me. Number one, I got to help the community that I work in, but it also got me in front of the biggest players in that community to help, build relationships with people that could help grow my real estate business too. Like, you go into it wanting to help and you get something out of it. But if you expect to get something out of it, then it becomes a disingenuous sort of give, and people see right through that. But I really enjoyed being a part of the community. Like, it really felt awesome. And so that's kind of where it all started for me. And then I just kind of, started to explore my other passions and where else can I help and where else can I do. And that all kind of came to light this past year with my laptop campaign that I was doing. So
Yeah.
like the whole point of all of this is it's like real estate is a people. It's all about people. And if you want to work in a specific area, like how are you going to expose yourself to as many people as possible without dropping flyers or door knocking and doing all the stuff I didn't want to do? And for me, the easiest access to the people in the community was helping as many people as possible. And that was to the organizations that were already helping in the neighborhood. So I'd seek a lot of those out if I were somebody that's trying to get into a neighborhood. And then also, um, what the hell was I going to say? Oh, right. And there's no substitute for knowledge. Like you've got to dig into these communities and learn things that other people may not necessarily know, and then have the courage to put that content out there at the same time. So again, like as many excuses as possible to not to reach out to people and be exposed to people without nagging them about real estate. And that's what all of my local charity and all of my local community involvement help me do. Just get in front of all these great people, and then people start coming to you, knowing you as the guy that's helpful and that's doing a lot of good things. And this is where my entire passion for bridging that technology gap with kids and families that don't have access to devices to participate in online learning. Once I learned about the need for devices, like it just lit a fire under me last year. And I was just literally buying laptops and Chromebooks and giving them to families that needed them so they could participate in online learning. And like last week, I put this call out and I raised $31,000 in like 2 days. And I'm able to buy almost 300 devices to give to kids. And for me, it's not about online learning because I think kids are going back to school on Monday anyway. For me, this has sparked a whole passion of bridging that technology gap of giving people access to the internet to take advantage of all of the opportunities the internet provides. Like as far as I'm concerned, 2022 and onward, access to the internet and technology is as essential as housing. Like think about all of the opportunities that you're missing out on if you don't have access to a device to get online. It's insane. So this has now sparked an awesome passion within me, and I'm launching a official charitable organization next week
Wow.
that is going to address this long term. I've raised $31,000 in 2 days. We've got so many other partners willing to come on and help me with this thing. I'm going to see if I can get it to $1 million within a year, and I'm pretty excited about that. But people, I don't do this to get business. I do this because it's very exciting for me, and it makes me feel like I'm doing something that I'm really supposed to be doing. And the natural side effect of it is more people get to see you, more people get to see in you, and they get to see that you're somebody that gives a shit. You're
Yeah.
not just somebody who's like trying to convert a lead. You're okay, like this guy, fine, he might have donated some money, but like he's starting a full-on charitable organization that requires a board of directors, that requires funding, like this is a serious thing. Like there's no faking that.
Hmm.
So, and ultimately people just kind of either connect to that or they don't. And it's, I wish everybody would do, I think, and a lot of people do, but I wish people would come at this whole lead gen thing a little bit differently and just kind of focus on what can you add to this community you want to work in so much, and put in the time and effort to get to meet as many people there as possible, and then hopefully it turns into business for you.
I think that's the big lesson to take away, I think, from today's talk is number one, it has to be genuine to you and who you are. So find what it
Mhm.
is that you're passionate about, what you connect with. I mean, if I'm not uh, into the food bank, then why the hell would I deal with the food bank? If I love animals, then I'll deal with, you know what I mean? Like find whatever it is
Yeah.
for you so that it's a genuine thing and participate and you'll genuinely meet people and help people in the community. I think that's really the way to go
Yeah.
about it. Now, you had also talked really quickly about really getting to know the community and just because you're licensed in for us in Ontario, that's a huge province. I mean, doesn't mean that you should go to Ottawa to transact or London or wherever just because you have an opportunity. Stick to your community and where you know. For those that are just getting into the industry and thinking, well, how do I learn about all these things to create content to give value? I mean, do you have any suggestions for those agents that are listening to really understand and learn about the community and things that are happening and relevant?
Yeah. The best thing you can do is when you're new and you may not have the confidence to like run for a board of directors of like a local BIA or something like that, or you may not have that yet. All of these people, they have all these associations have committees that need help. So
Right.
I'd reach out to the local BIA and say, hey, does your events or marketing committee need any support? I'm a local real estate agent and I have some time to contribute to this cause. And I'd get slowly into these environments. Find out how you can help the organizations that are already making a difference. That's what I would suggest, because that way you get to learn. Like, imagine knowing the property owners and business owners along the main retail strip, right? If one of them sells the building, you're probably going to know about that, because and then we know a developer bought it. So like you can start creating content around stuff that you can't yet Google, and that is really the high level info that will help you there. So look for who's helping and see if you can help them.
Absolutely. It's much like the team situation that you talked about in business, like look for teams that are already doing what you want to be doing, and
Mm-hmm.
sort of fold into that. This is a great way to do it. And that's similar to what I did, up here, the Chamber of Commerce, Board of Trade,
Mm-hmm.
Lions Club, different charitable organizations, get involved with the people that are in your community that are already doing it. And then,
Mm-hmm.
see how you can fit your way in there and help out. And then you'll learn and you'll meet people and you'll get connected, and that really goes a long way, right?
100%. That's how I grew my business. It's a long play though, like you could
Yes.
call a lead, you can cold call and do like 2 deals in the next month, maybe. But like you might not see any fruit from that whole situation for like 18 months, 2 years. It could be a long time.
Exactly.
It's all about, and that's why you have to do it if you really it's got to come from the heart, not from a selfish place of wanting something back, because you're never going to stick with it if you do that.
100%. And realize, if you're just getting started in this business, that you do have to make money and survive and put food on the table. So you really have to think about, if you want to do this, how do I spend my time so that I can do this and actively generate business while this is sort of
Well,
percolating.
listen, if you're new, you've got no business helping anybody buy or sell anything by yourself. Okay.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that should not be a thing that I hate that some people, new agents, are allowed to do that without being part of a team or something.
Or
Like,
mentorship or something like
or
that.
something,
Yeah.
like it's crazy actually. But at the very beginning, you've got an amazing opportunity with rentals. The Toronto, especially in Toronto, like the Toronto rental market is heating up again. There are countless opportunities for you to go to Craigslist or Kijiji and seek out those people that are looking for properties and send them property options. That's how I started my career, and it's still possible today. I would literally go to the housing wanted section in Craigslist, and I would look people would post what they want, and I would literally just send them like MLS listings after MLS listings over and over and over again, like 100 emails a day, every day for like 3 years. And I just did a whole bunch of leases, and that's a great way to supplement your income. Not supplement. That's a great way to create an income
Right.
while you're doing all these other things and
And a
not chasing
database
buy.
of people that may eventually buy or sell.
Yes. And I don't know why people hate on rental business so much, but like it's literally the reason why I'm successful today.
There you go. We learned
Yeah.
something new.
Yeah, it's the rentals are the shit, man. When you're brand new, you should be doing all of the rentals you possibly can. You don't even get to touch a buyer lead or a seller lead on my team until you've done at least 20 rentals.
Well, there you go. If anyone's planning on applying, the spring team in Toronto, get your
Yeah,
rental shit together.
yeah. Get your rentals or a few years of business under your belt.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah.
Any nuggets of wisdom you want to leave to the people that are checking this out? Remember, these are agents that are just getting in or super successful all around the board. What can you leave as a nugget of wisdom for our fellow realtors?
No, I don't know, man. I think I just left some there with the rental thing. If you're a new agent, focus on rentals, do your thing
Yeah.
there. If you're an experienced agent and you're somebody that enjoys putting other agents down for what they do, stop making you look like an idiot. I was that guy too, so I'm not saying that I never did it. I was that guy, and I realize now that that's a terrible way to do business. But I don't have a secret, man. I think it's just there's a book I'm reading right now. It's called The Miracle Equation by a guy named Hal Elrod, and the whole concept around this book is you can create any miracle situation that you want. You want to have X, Y, and Z. You can get to X, Y, and Z if you have two things: unwavering faith and extraordinary effort. Extraordinary effort covers all the things that other people are not willing to do. Consistent, extraordinary effort to get to an end goal, and the unwavering faith that you are going to get there no matter what. Those two things, again, no secret. Hal Elrod didn't make that up either. He just framed it in those two phrases that really, really connect with me. So the only thing is, if you're not successful, you're probably not putting forth exceptional effort extraordinary effort, or you don't have the faith that you can be successful. Those two things, just read that book and you'll be successful.
Awesome. If people want to get in touch with you, they want to send your team some referrals, or they want to be involved in your organization that you're creating,
Yeah.
why don't you tell them how to get in touch?
The best way to do it is just to reach out to me on Instagram or Twitter. I'm Ara Mammo, ARAMAMMO on all of my socials. Or if you want, you can email me, Ara at thespringteam.ca, and we'll have a chat.
Awesome. Thanks for doing this, Ara. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, man. Thank you.
All right, guys, thanks. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.